Hello friends, welcome back and let's take a look at Tezos together. Now I just waved at the camera in full knowledge that I'm not actually recording myself, which is silly. This is another instance where my phone battery has died, but I want to crack on and get these videos made today, so I'll just stick a wee picture of me smiling in the corner. I hope you're okay with that. Now, welcome to the show. My name's Rocky Outcrop. This is the Rocky Outcrop channel, and I'm going to try and speak a lot more clearly or slowly in this episode. Let me know how I get on down below in the comments. I could completely fail. I hope you're able to understand me okay regardless. So first off, we'll look at the Bitcoin pairing, and then we'll go to the dollar pairing on this coin. There's a few things that we can look at as well here in terms of just where we've been coming along or how we've been coming along. But generally speaking, looking at the 24-hour time frame, we're just in the throes of this upward trend since the bullish divergence came in around this between these two lows here on down below on the stochastics and the MACD, and we've seen this upward trend happen. Now since then we've come up higher than our previous high. I'll just borrow this to kind of point at it, up here higher than our previous high, which is good to see happen. And in fact as well, we've come up as far as this line here, which is the 50% retrace on this Fibonacci, which is, you know, this one here. This one here, just, you know, from this low up to this high, and you know, this became significant when we broke down below the 236 up here, and then below the 382 here, and the 50% here. You can see how the dynamic has this worked, how this has worked with the wick coming in here. So we know that there's areas of support and resistance in around this area, and we've come up here and we've done and we've tested up through the 50%, but not managed to break it yet. I would like to see the prices continue to go towards the upside. If we have to come in and set in a higher low at this point, I'd be okay with seeing it happen on this prices here, you know, down to 2,800 or so, where this green line is, without being too sort of worried about things overall. But I kind of feel like there's some good sort of belief in the air with this one, and a higher low could come in at where these 55 and the 21 EMA is, and this green line here representing that 618 Fibonacci retracement. Indeed, if I go all the way over to the left, you can see there's another Fibonacci drawn in here. That's the 382 of that one. You know, there's a fair few areas, things in that area, including these moving averages, that we could look to for support. Let's hope that that is indeed the case, should we need to set in a higher low along the way here. On the RSI, between this high and the previous high, which is not fair to say because that was part of the downward trend, it's not divergent, but of course we still only really have this first movement here in terms of this upward trend, and this is coming in hand with really, overall speaking, a lowering in the volume. I'd like to see the prices move up here so that there's more enthusiasm in this market on terms of the Tezos Bitcoin pairing, and we can start trying up towards these other areas. For instance, 3,333 or so, where that golden pocket retrace will be in at there, and then we can start asking questions about whether or not we'll go on and put in a 100% retrace, come up here and try and go for, you know, a triple peak, perhaps cup with handle, follow through continuation pattern towards the upside, or if indeed this will fail at some point along the way beforehand. Currently, you know, the first port of call which you could look to for it to be failing at, generally speaking, is that 50% retrace area or so, but you know, in terms of the upside, that's actually up here at 3,200, and we haven't quite managed to make it there yet if you're just purely looking at this from a Fibonacci perspective. Let's go on over to the dollar prices. A couple of things to point out here. First off, as you can see, we're still continuing in this general area here, and we haven't got a measured move to be had quite yet, you know, of course, but if we did, towards the downside, you could be looking down at that 215 area. Towards the upside, you could be looking towards that 320, you know, 325, 320 area. But looking between the exchanges, you can see here 272 on this exchange, 271 there, 272 there, and there still continues to be this divergence amongst the exchanges where this is at 253. In terms of HIT BTC, and with all these squiggles, excuse me, on here, I would like to see this go above the 258 area and move towards the top side. But I am willing to say that, you know, there's perhaps other reasons outside of the sort of free market for this having been suppressed like this, and we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. I would like to see that happen though, and for this exchange to catch up with the others, as opposed for these ones to drop down at some point in the future. You know, I'm just kind of cleaning up here as we go. Sorry about all that muck on the charts. Going back over here to discuss, you know, as we're in this area, as we're consolidating, you can't really look towards highs and lows and say, you know, is there divergence or whatever. If you look between this high here and the previous highs, it's part of this upward trend, you know, since the 11th of May, that there isn't any divergence there, but it's just not enough data to be making that assessment, really. There isn't local highs and local lows to compare, and we're really just consolidating as we have been since back here in the end of April. In fact, you know, since the 25th of April, going sideways here. And want to see this breaking out towards the top end. Indeed, you know, overall this coin has got a lot of growth potential for it, and in terms of the percentage moves that you could be looking at in terms of just being a trader or an investor, if things go up to here, that's a 23% rise. Comparison to our pal Ethereum, you know, if prices go up to where you're going to have significant resistance there at 220, that's a 10% rise. You know, 230 is a 15% rise. To get the same sort of, you know, movements that is what you could have with Tezos. You're looking at the prices for Ethereum going up to 240, just as in terms of percentage moves. You know, so Tezos is certainly a good one to be trading at the minute. Should we see a breakout from this overall pattern formation here? And if we just look at this as being a broad descending broadening wedge, if we do break down from this area, we could come all the way down to this you know, at 215 and then turn around and go towards the top side. And if that were to happen, then you've got great trading opportunities on the way down and up. Looking at it from a downward perspective, that's 20% down, and then on the way back up again, if it went back up, you're looking at a sort of 35% increase. And then we've got this blue line here at 230 where we could see the prices turn around at before ever reaching here, and that would be fair enough. And of course we could probably accommodate that more or less in terms of the shape of this thing if that were needed to be the case, you know. But we can cross that bridge when we come to it, should that be the case. In the meantime as well, this could also be considered to be just a sort of parallel channel, depending on how you draw your sort of the shape of these things in. I talk a lot about how these things are subjective in various episodes, so you know, that's something to bear in mind, that there's always a subjective nature to these things. But what we could be looking at, as if they're to the downside, could be this sort of down here towards 220, for instance, and towards the upside we could be looking at up to 320, and this overall in between times, just in between times, we've got this little sort of wee range here where the top side resistance is at that 280, 385 area, the lower side sort of support at 265, and that could be where we see the prices go for even another couple of days, really, overall, as this thing consolidates itself. You know, depends on the angles you're using to draw this in overall. But I do expect something to happen here, you know, this week essentially, and that's what I'll be looking out for over the next week. Well, of course, we'll be doing these videos every day, so we can discuss that as we come to it. And I do, you know, recommend subscribing, because, like I say, we do these videos every day, and there's always something new to look at and something new to learn every day when we do them. So thank you so much for tuning in today. The big sort of standout thing in terms of the downside, well, in terms of the resistance, first off, over here on the VPVR, you can see that this area here is where there's been an awful lot of trading. There's a lot of sort of supply in this area, and that's going to make it difficult to break above. As that drops down, you can see that doesn't actually kick back in again until you're in that at 168. But of course, there's various areas along the way, 180, and of course as well in here at $2.30 as well, and of course at $2.15. These are all important, as you can see, you know, denoted by the VPVR. In general, there's a big drop off that direction, but towards the top side, then of course as well, that we're looking up the way, and it just drops right off, because we'd be coming up and setting in all-time highs in this exchange if we went above $4, and that would be quite exciting in terms of the price for this thing. And it just goes, you know, just tapers away. So, you know, consolidating in this area over overall is no bad thing to have happen. Should we go up towards these higher targets here and actually start to trend again towards the top side and look at this from a broader perspective and say, like, you know, are we going to get above that $3.53 area on the weekly where we have that blue horizontal line and actually trend up the way? And if you look overall, the overall time on this thing, in fact, maybe the Binance chart is nicer, like I posted on Twitter yesterday. I don't know, but this thing overall is just been going up, you know, like, so this is your low, this is your high, this is your higher low, and we're still just consolidating along the way. We could be going in on the bigger perspective to put in another higher high thereafter, so I'd like to see that happen. If not, you know, then maybe in the bigger scheme of things, we could be consolidating somewhat like this and looking for, you know, radical moves. I don't like doing this, but I think it would be a bit fun just to throw it in there, and you could have a measured move all the way up to $5.50 more or less, or indeed all the way down to zero, you know. But that'll do for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Share this video with a friend if you've got one that you think would like it. As you can see, generally speaking, if this was to be considered to be consolidating, the volume is continuing to drop off over here on this one. So I do think that at some point something soon will happen, you know, even if it's just temporary. I feel like there'll be some uptake in the price action, hopefully fairly soon, for us to have something else to talk about. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I'll catch you in the next episode.